I was basically bedbound. I had to hold my head up. If I was sitting, I was like so exhausted. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. I might sleep in the morning from 5 till 6 or something like that. And then I was like just complete insomnia for such a long period of time. So yeah, I had to take time off work. It was really brutal.
Hello and welcome to the CFS Health Recovery Podcast. In today's episode, we sit down with past member Cathy, who suffered with chronic fatigue syndrome for over 20 plus years. She's now 65. She doesn't experience any brain fog whatsoever. And just before we started recording the call, she was literally gardening with her husband, harvesting all the amazing food they've been growing. So please sit back and relax. This amazing episode and this amazing woman shares with you how she eventually got rid of all her brain fog, how she's improved her cognitive function, how she's improved her physical function, and ultimately how she's really gotten healthy and started to live again. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. So you were just saying, you're 65. What did you get diagnosed with? What were you saying?
So I was diagnosed with non-atypical chronic fatigue. They had done some MRIs and tests. The neurologist did some tests on my brain, and they did all kinds of weird things and said, well, there's a difference in the pattern from the two sides of the brain, but other than that, we can't really find anything wrong with you. But the symptoms sound like this new yuppie disease that's going around that they call chronic fatigue. Your life as you know it is never going to be the same because you're probably going to have to quit work and quit doing everything you know how to do because we have nothing to give you. So you'll basically just be bedbound for the rest of your life. And I was having these sleep seizures, which were like an 18-hour can't get out of bed, can't open my eyes kind of a deal. And that's why I went to the neurologist, and he just labeled them sleep seizures. The sleep seizures, they started being less and less. They were shorter and shorter, but the recovery from them was longer and longer. So I'd be tired. At the beginning, I'd sleep for 18 hours and be tired for maybe 4 or 5 hours, and then I'd be fine the next day. But then they started where they were like 10 hours, but then I'd be tired for 2 days. And then it would take me maybe 3 more days before I could really do things again. I had to hold my head up. If I was sitting, I was like so exhausted. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. I might sleep in the morning from 5 till 6 or something like that. And then I was like just complete insomnia for such a long period of time. So yeah, I had to take time off work. It was really brutal.
It sounds like you were having these huge bouts of exhaustion when you were doing those big sleeping sessions, but then on the other end, maybe a year or 2 later, it kind of reversed. And we see this in chronic fatigue syndrome where there's like that sleep irritability. What year was this in?
So this was in 2000. So I was just coming up on my 42nd birthday. I was born in 58. So yeah, I was just coming up on my 42nd birthday. So I told my family, I said, I'm really sick. They don't know what's wrong with me. They think it's chronic fatigue. They don't know anything about it. I was crying. I was very upset. Sorry if I get emotional because going back there, I don't usually do that.
No, it's a long time ago as well. The story gets better, obviously. But I do remember chronic fatigue syndrome was labeled Yuppie Flu at its origin. Yeah. So that would have been so hard back then because there was no YouTube. There was no Google, I don't even think back then.
There was Google, but it wasn't like it is today.
It wasn't, yeah. It was like
my stepdaughter, Kim, she said, Uncle Greg's going to this acupuncture guy for some of his problems, so why don't you give him a try? And when I went to see him, he said I'd have to come 3 or 4 times a week for half-hour treatments for acupuncture. So that's what I did. And that's what rolled me through the rest of my life until I found you, was acupuncture. And I use it all the time. I use it a lot. What it did was it never recovered me, but it got me functioning. The commitment was huge and the dollars were huge, but the journey never ended because every time I stopped acupuncture, I gradually got sick again. So then I heard of you on Facebook. Actually, I found you on Facebook, and I had been through 2 pretty severe crashes, one in 2015 that took me down for quite a while. I saw doctors, there wasn't much help. I just kind of listened to my body, tried to eat really well, tried to get rest. I got onto trazodone to sleep, all kinds of things.
Before you joined the program, what were your 3 biggest struggles?
Cognitive function, brain fog. Physically, I wasn't capable of doing very much at all. Like I was pretty much couch bound. I lost the desire to cook. I didn't know what to eat anymore. My husband has been really good in helping me out with all of that. But yeah, I just kind of laid around and just stopped everything. And then I found your program And wow, it just opened my eyes. When your cognitive function is working, and even though you're sleeping, you're not getting the rest your body needs, and you're not fueling your body properly because you're too tired to eat and all that kind of stuff, and feeling like you're going insane. You woke me up amazingly. Like the things you said in the baseline, that was the big key for me there, was the baseline.
Yeah, if it sounds like for like 20 years, that's what was missing. It just sounded like that's the thing that was missing for you, because once you got that, then you were able to stabilize and weren't having these ups and downs as much.
Yeah. And even when I first joined your program, like it was really hard for me to read through material, even on Facebook. There was so much, and I was just so tired all the time. I was mentally hard. So I would pick and choose my battles. Even with the calls, I would come on the calls, but I wouldn't speak. I would just sit in the background because, to tell you the truth, a lot of times it was just overwhelming me. So I would go away and I'd say, I won't do a call for a couple of days, and let's just see what this baseline is all about and stuff. And I'd talk to Danny about it. He's a pretty smart guy. We've only been together going on 7 years now. He lived with somebody previously who had brain damage. And so he took care of her for a while. So he was pretty smart in the ways of helping. He's got his fingers in 1,000 pies, and he makes herbal remedies and stuff like that. So he was really helpful, and he was super supportive. He still is to this day, super supportive.
You know, when you joined the program, you were pushing, crashing, you'd been struggling for 20 years. The doctors said you had Yuppie Flu. You tried a bunch of alternative therapies, and you found acupuncture was really useful for you, which is really good. What changed for you when you did join the program? Because just watching you from the outside, it was like a little girl kind of was born again. There was a spark that I noticed in you that was really prevalent. Maybe not straight away, but I just noticed a youngness in you.
The baseline, that was for me the biggest key. And yeah, he says work in the program. Come
in the screen and say hello, because I feel like you deserve a mention. Hi, this is so impromptu. I appreciate you jumping on. Have a seat for a sec. Danny, you said that following the program, what about it helped her the most, do you think, from an outside perspective?
I'm a process kind of guy. I've been a professional troubleshooter basically my entire working career, which has been extensive, as you can tell by looking at me. Everything you turn on a light switch and the light doesn't come on, to a truck full of parts pulling one end of the factory and there's no completed stuff coming out the other end. And I've kind of always looked at diseases, and specifically this thing with the chronic fatigue is the same way. There's things your body will and won't do for whatever reason, and you got to work within that, but there's always room to improve in there somewhere. And her getting hooked up with you in your program and get that baseline identified, that kind of put a fine point on it, and then working the steps from there to improve. You do a little bit and you look at the result. If it's good, great, keep going a little more. If that didn't work out good, okay, back up to the baseline again and you start over, you pick another one, and you just work it that way. And it's a proven process that works in 99%.
So true. It doesn't happen overnight. Did you notice a change for her? Because I noticed it, and I'm sure you did, but like when she was in the program, and obviously all the members get to talk to each other, there was this sense of enthusiasm. And what did you notice as a mental change in her attitude towards life, and maybe towards you in the relationship that might have been different?
She got back to the way that she was when we first got together. She spent about a year kind of circling the drain, way more down days than up. And of course, okay, fine, you got to do what you got to do. But once she got into your program and got started going, yeah, I observed the same things that you did. She came back, to me, she came back alive, and she was back to the girl that I met and fell in love with 6-7 years ago.
Wow. What was that like for you when that started to happen?
Oh, it was wonderful. I had my girl back. And at that point, I was still doing pretty good physically and all that. I was competing in Taekwondo, and I got her into it. She was doing it too. But when COVID hit, that piece of it was too much for her. We were a little worried about her getting sick. It didn't happen, but we were worried about that. And then all the restrictions, having to wear a mask in school and all of that. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't function with that extra layer of difficulty.
I don't think many
put on.
people could, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Sure. She got past that point, and yeah, it was after that when you got in the program.
We moved, and that's what
Yeah.
crashed me.
Yeah, she was doing really well, but she spent 3 weeks working 10, 12 hours a day packing up our house while I was working.
Mm.
And she made it all the way through the move, and the next day,
February the 5th, I think it was, of
Yeah.
2022 when I crashed the last time.
and it wasn't long after that when you got on the program.
Yeah, I got your program in March.
How did you find the program? I can't even remember.
I saw your program a couple of times. I don't know how. I mean, I saw it on Facebook. Every once in a while, you put on Facebook something about CFS Health. I kept eyeing that even before I crashed. I knew with my history that it's not going to take anything. Obviously, this move crashed me again. The crash I had in 2015 took me 2 years, almost 3 years to recover from. You got me into Taekwondo in 2017. And I was okay then, but slowly I got bad again. I knew with my history that this is never going to end. It's just going to keep happening over and over. Obviously, I'm somehow establishing some sort of baseline, and then I'm kind of struggling along, and then I feel really good for just a little while. Then boom, I'm back down. And this has been going on for 25 years. So I can go to acupuncture again, and it's still going to cost a lot of money, but it's not going to fix anything. It's a Band-Aid. But I wanted to get better from the inside out, from the bottom up. I think you were younger when I saw your stuff first. You're still a baby.
Still a baby. It's unbelievable, really, the amount of progress you've made. Someone who's gone from couch bound, who couldn't put words together and couldn't even maybe process half the information in the program.
Yeah, at the beginning, my brain fog was huge then. And I don't know what I was running on. I had no batteries. It was pure will. I have a lot of will.
Yeah, you sound like you do. One of the things that a past member said once to me, which I thought was brilliant, her advice to anyone out there was, in a time where you don't have any energy, you've got to give it all your energy in terms of recovery. I'd love you to share, what did you do, especially in those harder stages? Because you made progress pretty quick, actually, in relative terms, especially if you've been suffering for 20 years. Within 6 months, you were noticing changes and you were just like, it's happening and I'm doing this and it's happening. But at that first maybe 3 months in the program, you mentioned one thing, that you got support from Danny, your husband. He was able to kind of tell you what he was interpreting based off what you thought it was too. So you got that support. But what other things did you do in the initial stages when you couldn't watch a whole video or you felt like the coaching call was too much at the time?
When the coaching call was too much, sometimes I'd just go away and I'd think about it. I'd look at your videos. That's what helped me. I would go and I'd watch a video and maybe I'd watch 5 minutes and then I'd be, okay, that's too much. I'd find another one. Maybe that's a little less information. And I'd watch that one and I'd be like, oh. And I started writing sticky notes.
I love that. Hey, let's read that out.
It was one of your themes for the month, and this one really stuck with me. Movement was one of my themes that I wanted to do. It's just coming to fruition now, my exercising. Set an alarm, make a plan, and be accountable. And that goes for a whole lot of things in my life. It's not just that one thing, but I struggled with the physical aspect of it. I got my cognitive function back, and I started getting my memory. My memory was so bad when I first met Danny. It was so bad. I mean, I couldn't remember. If somebody told me something 2 seconds later, I forgot what they said. I was able to actually enjoy getting up and moving without exercise, because I tried exercise over and over again.
No, you weren't ready back then at the start. You had to start easy. One of the things in the program is we talk about, before you even think about movement, let's get your daily function going. And I remember you used to sit outside from memory, but I remember you posting a video or a photo of you outside with your chair on your veranda, and just being outdoors was one of the things that you're working on and building up to. That was brilliant because that's where you were at. You didn't need to do movement. You weren't ready to do a movement program at that stage because you were in stage one. We needed to restore energy first. Building your daily function was the right move, and you were doing the right things at the right time.
And that was huge. And I mean, the baseline, I found it like, I was really going back to being a little girl again. Like you said, I was like, you got to crawl before you walk, and you got to walk before you run. So I can't exercise. And for me, this is really hard because I've been an athlete my whole life. The last thing I was involved in was Taekwondo, and I made it all the way to my black belts. But I had to quit because it was too much for me. soon after that, the crash came. So for me, the baseline was really fun. Believe it or not, I might be a little psychotic, but
I think the key is here, and this is a game changer, is you made it a game. It was a game for you. Like, you treated it like a fun game. It wasn't like, oh, I can only do this much and I can't do Taekwondo. It was like, all right, screw all that. That's been and done. All right. And I'm going to put my lens on for just right now in this moment. What can I do? Well, the game is to go and enjoy the sunshine on the deck.
yeah, that was a huge one for me, getting outside, because previously in my previous crashes, I just stayed in the house, and it's what I got used to. I'll just lay here until I start feeling better, and then I'll get out and do something. But with the baseline, it was small things like getting my eating in order. I have a really strict diet, so it was like, what can I keep on hand that's going to be easy for me to eat, and then fuel my body so that I can have more energy and do more things. And then I'd run into Danny and say, hey, I had this thing. Look, I didn't get bloated or whatever. And I'd be all excited about it. It's like I was getting a shower, I kid you not, like once a week. I just didn't have the energy to stand under the water. And like, I have long hair, and I didn't have the energy to stand under the water and do this because it was just too much. The thought of washing my hair, it killed me. I just wasn't capable of getting a shower. And now I'm pretty much getting a shower every day, which is huge for me because I haven't done that in a long time.
Hair's looking very clean and fresh there.
Yeah, I had to wash it because I was in the garden.
I want to go back to two things you mentioned before. You mentioned food and energy, working within the foods that worked for you, just basically getting good nutrition into your system regularly every few hours to support your system. But then you mentioned something that probably most people will overlook here, and you mentioned the word celebrate. You would go to Danny and go, babe, look, I did it. It's working. And you did that a lot. You did that in the program, which was great, but it's great that you were able to do it outside the program with Danny as well. I think that's really powerful, celebrating the small wins as well. Like, they don't have to be huge. And I think that's something that you got from the program initially, was you do celebrate these tiny little things. Stop looking at the freaking mountain and celebrate the next step.
Yeah.
And you did such a great
job. Thank you. The other one, which I sometimes slip on, but which makes a big impact on me, is getting to bed on time. Sometimes we'll be watching a really interesting movie and I make sure that I'm in bed at 10:30 and the lights are out. And sometimes I let it go till 11 o'clock and I suffer for it because A, I don't fall asleep as easily. And then B, I don't sleep well. And C, I wake up too early. And then the next day I'm kind of tired and I'm like, don't do that again. So I have an alarm that I set now, and the alarm goes off and we both get in and get ready for bed and take our pills because, we take pills. But yeah, the sleep is huge. If I don't sleep well, cognitively the next day I'm slow. I don't get brain fog anymore, though. I'm so grateful for that. And that to me is the best feeling on earth, because I lived with it for almost 20 years, even maybe a little longer, because it's only been now that I don't get it. I account that to getting the rest, sticking to the baseline. I still stick to that baseline. It's up here now, but I stick to it. And then just recently, in the last couple of weeks, I've been slowly going back to exercising. I started off with just a 60-second plank. Nice. And I did that every day for about a week. And then I had wall push-ups. And so I'm getting rid of my little flabbies that I could develop. They were quite a lot worse, but getting rid of that. And I don't do it all at once. I go do my plank and then I go do something else. And then I'll sit there and I'll be like, I'm going to go do my squats now. I've just recently incorporated my curls and my triceps with it. I was a personal trainer, so I'm teaching myself like a beginner.
And what you're doing is micro sessions, and you're basically doing appropriate retraining of your muscles. You're not overtraining. You mentioned that your baseline is up here now, and I think that's important to mention, is that I consider you as a normal, healthy, functioning human being. Now, that's who you are. That's what you are. And so what people don't realize is that baseline is never fixed. It's something that's progressional over time, that you build up your capacity, your strength and stamina over time. You might get a cold or a flu, and that's going to pull you back a couple of weeks. And that's what happens with healthy people too. That's really important to notice. What advice would you give to someone who's just started the program, who is maybe just feeling a little bit overwhelmed and isolated when they start something new? They're excited, but then they realize that they have to do the work. What would your advice be, even though you've given some great, just through your story about making it a game and it's fun, looking forward to things, food and energy, celebrate the small wins and getting your sleep routine sorted as well. They were huge things for you.
Take a big breath, take the pressure off yourself. I mean, that's huge. Take the pressure off. We're used to having all this. And so now we're down here. So treat yourself like a little baby, like a newborn. Forget about everything you used to know because that's no longer available to you yet. It's a yet thing. It's like, it's going to come back. But in the meantime, you're just going to become a much better person for it. Don't feel guilty about feeling so ill because what you're doing is you're learning stuff that a lot of people don't ever get to learn. And that's how to treat yourself well and to be kind to yourself and do things that make you feel good. And in turn, everybody around you feels good. Slow, slow, slow. Don't be in a hurry. Little tiny pieces, bite-sized pieces, Danny says.
Yeah, and that's really what it was. I love the word yet. We use it a lot. I use it a lot. I don't know if you remember that someone will say, I can't do this and I can't do that. And I say, yet. You know what I mean? Because if you say it without it, you're making it definitive. But if you say it with yet, it's saying, well, yeah, this is the current reality, but it's not necessarily the end destination reality.
You're going to get there. You got to just take your time to get there, but you're going to get there. It's like a diet. You gain all this weight, and you got to lose it. And it took you a long time to put all that weight on. So now it's going to take you a long time to take it off. And you have to do it right. You can't go buy magic pills and stuff. You got to really get to the root cause of the problem and sort through it little piece by little piece.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems is people don't believe it's possible for them.
Because when you're down there like that, I wouldn't have thought so either when I was sick.
How did you change that belief? Was it partly just seeing other people in the program getting better? Was it just chipping away and just like slowly noticing improvements over time?
All of that. I was committed too. I was committed. When I did this, I was really committed. I was like, I'm doing this. I don't expect to be better tomorrow. And I know I feel more for others than I do for myself usually. I like to help people. You know, I just went to Florida to help a girlfriend there for 2 weeks. I went and she became disabled. So I went and straightened out her whole house and sorted it out so that it could be functional for her. I would have never thought that possible a year ago.
What's that like to be able to do that for someone?
Makes me want to cry. It's wonderful to help somebody else. You know, you help me, I pay it forward. It's because of the program, Toby. I could not have got here without you. And I remember all the lessons. And the biggest one I'll never forget is the guilt workshop. I recommend everybody watch that workshop. I don't know if I still have access to it, but if I did, I'd watch it again. You learn a lot. And you've taught me to learn. You've taught me to pay attention and to listen to my body. I mean, I always was good at that, but sometimes we're stubborn and we self-sabotage. I think everybody has all of that in them, you know, so stop feeling guilty and just stick with the basics.
Yeah. We're going to wrap up in a second. This has just been so brilliant. What can someone do who just can't commit yet? How did you get committed? How do you do it, Cathy?
I got tired of being tired. I did naturopathic. I tried to be vegetarian. I tried to be vegan. I did all this stuff. Nothing kept me on course. So I needed to learn some lessons. And from what I saw in your program, even if you don't feel like you can do it, just look at one thing, one little thing. Start with the baseline, one little thing, and reward yourself. Let's say if you get an extra 10 minutes sleep the night before. Congratulations. Look what you did. You got an extra 10 minutes. It's huge. If you can't get a shower and one day you get a sponge bath at least and you're like, wow, you feel better when you're clean. Get some help, get some support. I'm big on people support. And I was very blessed to have so many good people in my life. Well, this whole 25-year journey, all my friends stayed my friends and supported me and through all my ups and downs. And I was blessed. I was just blessed. But you just got to think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is. And this program has a lot, if not all, the answers. I mean, I was only in it for 7 months, but my struggle was real. And I just went in, like I do with everything. I jumped in with 2 feet and said, let's go. That's how I started kickboxing. Oh, I love it. Let's go. I want to fight right now. That's maybe part of why I did it. But you just got to believe.
I love that. I love that. Like, I think it's important to make it work for you. I think so many people get stuck in, it's like it has to be cookie cutter version stuff. No, that's the last thing we encourage. It's like, you got to make it work for you. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
it'd be not fun.
It's not, got to make it fun. You got to make it fun.
I always write notes when I'm talking on these calls, and the first two words are fun and games.
And you know where you really learn is when you fail. You know, when you're getting your baseline together and you get there and you're like, oh man, look at me, I'm going strong. And then boom, you go down a notch. Instead of going, oh God, no, here I go again. It's like, why did I go down? What did I do? What didn't I do? What can I learn from this? I think that's why I kept advancing, because I fell a lot. I'd go and I'd fall and I'd go and I'd fall and I'd go. So what am I doing? What is it that I'm doing or I'm not doing? And then I'd go look at videos. When I was able to, when I was cognitively finally able to sit down and watch a whole video.
That's what it is. You just didn't get stuck. You never got stuck. Yes, it wasn't perfect, and yes, there was weeks that you went backwards a little bit, but you never got stuck in any moment of time. It was just like, it is what it is. What can I learn from it? We have a saying, you either win or you learn. There's no such thing as failure.
Yeah, there's no failure. And there's nothing wrong with taking a backward step either, because sometimes you need it. So if you're trying just to get more and more of the baseline, that's really not what you want to be doing. You want to get that baseline, you want to stay there, and recognizing when you're ready to move up a little bit is the hard part. That's the trial and error thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to try this. And if my baseline falls, then I'm not ready. But good for you for getting there.
Yes, exactly. And just tapping yourself on the back. Before we go, have you got any last words of wisdom for people who are sitting on the fence, who want to join the program, or who are maybe in the program but just having those initial doubts that, are human, as I say to everyone?
If you're sitting on the fence, I really encourage that you do the program. You just got to pick out that old Nike saying, just do it. If it's too much content, back off. Step away from it. Just take one little thing that you did connect with and work with that. Maybe reach out to somebody like yourself or Ash or Aaron or anybody. Reach out. Use Facebook. I mean, it's really hard, and I found it really hard at the beginning too. There's so much. And when you're suffering, it's hard to read about other people's suffering because it overwhelms you. It's like, oh my God, everybody's feeling suffering. I feel like I'm never going to get anywhere because all these people are doing that. But they're probably all at the same spot. They're all new. They're all learning. They're all struggling to get there. Just think about what you're doing. Just stop reading all that. Stop looking at it. Just focus on the call. Even if you record it and try and go back to it, even if you watch it for 5 minutes, eventually you'll get there. Eventually you'll like the call, because everybody is so helpful and everybody has your back and everybody listens and everybody's going through what you're going through. Everybody's walking that same road, and that's huge, because if you talk to somebody that doesn't have chronic fatigue or has never suffered from it or don't know anybody, they can't understand it. It's like if you get a headache and I don't have a headache, you're going to say, well, I have such a bad headache, and I'm going to be sympathetic, but I don't feel what you feel. But everybody in the group, they're always encouraging. They're there to hold your hand. They'll private message you, whatever you want to do. You pick one person that you really feel comfortable with, reach out.
You make friends for life in this program.
You do. I still remember the girls in my group. It's true. I mean, any one of them call me or PM me right now, I'd be there,
So good. Danny, for anyone who's a supporter, what would you say to someone who's thinking about joining the program?
Just do it at whatever speed you can take it. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. And that's basically what you're looking at doing. When she was first telling me about the program, I looked at, that's a lot of stuff. But watch one video and go off and think about that for a day or two, and watch another one, and next week watch two, and one piece at a time. There's going to be some improvements. It may take a while, but you get that baseline identified, and you'll get the diet thing under control, and you get your sleep under control, and then you just start working the program one little piece at a time, and you'll get there. Some folks get there in a short amount of time. Some folks take longer, and some of them may take forever, but we'll make an absolutely huge improvement in quality of life, which is, why you want to do this in the first place.
So he's happier.
Sure. She's not just piled up on the couch in there or doing whatever little bit she can do just to sit there and breathe. She's a wonderful wife, takes care of the house, takes care of me. It's a good thing, and I'm really happy she found a program and worked it. I was one of those things I couldn't do it for her. I mean, I could be there on the side, encourage. But I'd say if you're sitting on the fence or you're thinking about it, just do it. I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is you waste a little bit of time. What's the alternative? You waste a lot of time.
Yeah, I love that. Eat an elephant one bite at a time. Is that right?
That's it.
I love that. It's just kind of sums up your journey, and just
Yeah.
tiny little bites at the start, like baby bites,
That's it.
and then bigger
Yeah.
chunks, and then bigger chunks as the months went on.
Then you're going to be mowing down on it.
Yeah. Now you're eating it one go at a time.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you, Cathy, and Danny as well.
Yeah.
It was a
Sure.
real surprise and pleasure. Yeah, just so appreciate you, and on behalf of all the team and the members as well, and all the general public as well, just thank you, because there are a lot of people, especially I know women in their 60s, who have been struggling for a long time, and they've never met or heard a story like this. And there are actually lots of them out there. It's just that not many people have the bravery to share their story. So I really appreciate you doing this today, Cathy and
Sure.
Danny.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.
Yeah.
Annie wants me to show you this. That was my first kickboxing fight
Wow.
at 41 years old. Good memories.
So good. Cathy, you're a legend. You're a living legend. We'll stay in touch. We'll speak soon. See you soon.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Okay. Take care,
Bye,
Toby.
love. Bye.
Bye.